Number 1. Buckingham Palace. Buckingham Palace is the London residence and administrative headquarters of the monarch of the United Kingdom. Located in the city of Westminster, the palace is often at the centre of state occasions and royal hospitality. It has been a focal point for the British people at times of national rejoicing and mourning. Originally known as Buckingham House, the building at the core of today's palace was a large townhouse built for the Duke of Buckingham in 1703 on a site that had been in private ownership for at least 150 years. It was acquired by King George III in 1761 as a private residence for Queen Charlotte and became known as the Queen's House. During the 19th century it was enlarged, principally by architects John Nash and Edward Blore, who constructed 3 wings around a central courtyard. Buckingham Palace became the London residence of the British monarch on the accession of Queen Victoria in 1837. Number 2. Tower of London. The Tower of London, officially Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London, is a historic castle on the north bank of the River Thames in central London. It lies within the London borough of Tower Hamlets, which is separated from the eastern edge of the square mile of the City of London by the open space known as Tower Hill. It was founded towards the end of 1066 as part of the Norman Conquest. The White Tower, which gives the entire castle its name, was built by William the Conqueror in 1078 and was a resented symbol of oppression inflicted upon London by the new ruling elite. The castle was also used as a prison from 1100, Ranulph Flambard, until 1952, Cray twins, although that was not its primary purpose. A grand palace early in its history, it served as a royal residence. As a whole, the tower is a complex of several buildings set within 2 concentric rings of defensive walls and a moat. There were several phases of expansion, mainly under Kings Richard I, Henry III, and Edward I in the 12th and 13th centuries. The general layout established by the late 13th century remains despite later activity on the site. Number 3. Tower Bridge. Tower Bridge is a Grade I listed combined bascule and suspension bridge in London, built between 1886 and 1894, designed by Horace Jones and engineered by John Wolfberry. The bridge crosses the River Thames close to the Tower of London and is one of 5 London bridges owned and maintained by the Bridge House Estates, a charitable trust founded in 1282. The bridge was constructed to give better access to the East End of London, which had expanded its commercial potential in the 19th century. The bridge was opened by Edward, Prince of Wales, and Alexandra, Princess of Wales in 1894. The bridge is 800 feet 240 meters in length and consists of 2 213-foot, 65 m, bridge towers connected at the upper level by 2 horizontal walkways and a central pair of bascules that can open to allow shipping. Originally hydraulically powered, the operating mechanism was converted to an electro-hydraulic system in 1972. The bridge is part of the London Inner Ring Road and thus the boundary of the London Congestion Charge Zone, and remains an important traffic route with 40,000 crossings every day. The bridge deck is freely accessible to both vehicles and pedestrians, whereas the bridge's twin towers, high-level walkways, and Victorian engine rooms form part of the Tower Bridge exhibition. Number 4. The British Museum. The British Museum is a public institution dedicated to human history, art and culture located in the Bloomsbury area of London, England. Its permanent collection of some 8 million works is among the largest and most comprehensive in existence, having been widely collected during the era of the British Empire. It documents the story of human culture from its beginnings to the present. It was the first public national museum in the world. The museum was established in 1753, largely based on the collections of the Anglo-Irish physician and scientist Sir Hans Sloane. It first opened to the public in 1759 in Montague House, on the site of the current building. Its expansion over the following 250 years was largely a result of expanding British colonization and has resulted in the creation of several branch institutions, the first being the Natural History Museum in 1881. Number 5. Big Ben and Parliament. Big Ben is the nickname for the great bell of the striking clock at the north end of the Palace of Westminster, although the name is frequently extended to also refer to the clock and the clock tower. The official name of the tower in which Big Ben is located was originally the Clock Tower, but it was renamed Elizabeth Tower in 2012 to mark the Diamond Jubilee of Elizabeth II, Queen of the United Kingdom. The tower was designed by Augustus Pugin in a neo-Gothic style. When completed in 1859, its clock was the largest and most accurate four-faced striking and chiming clock in the world. The tower stands 316 feet 96 meters tall, and the climb from ground level to the belfry is 334 steps. Its base is square, measuring 40 feet 12 meters on each side. Dials of the clock are 22.5 feet 6.9 meters in diameter. All four nations of the UK are represented on the tower in shields featuring a rose for England, thistle for Scotland, shamrock for Northern Ireland, and leek for Wales. On May 31, 2009, celebrations were held to mark the tower's 150th anniversary. Number 6. Churchill War Room. The Churchill War Rooms is a museum in London and one of the 5 branches of the Imperial War Museum. The museum comprises the Cabinet War Rooms, a historic underground complex that housed a British government command centre throughout the Second World War, and the Churchill Museum, a biographical museum exploring the life of British statesman Winston Churchill. Construction of the Cabinet War Rooms, located beneath the Treasury Building in the Whitehall area of Westminster, began in 1938. They became fully operational on August 27, 1939, a week before Britain declared war on Germany. The war rooms remained in operation throughout the Second World War, before being abandoned in August 1945 after the surrender of Japan. After the war, the historic value of the Cabinet War Rooms was recognized. Their preservation became the responsibility of the Ministry of Works and later the Department for the Environment, during which time very limited numbers of the public were able to visit by appointment. In the early 1980s, the Imperial War Museum was asked to take over the administration of the site, and the Cabinet War Rooms were opened to the public in April 1984. The museum was reopened in 2005 following a major redevelopment as the Churchill Museum and Cabinet War Rooms, but in 2010 this title was shortened to the Churchill War Rooms. Number 7. Westminster Abbey. Westminster Abbey, formerly titled the Collegiate Church of St. Peter at Westminster, is a large, mainly Gothic abbey church in the city of Westminster, London, England, just to the west of the Palace of Westminster. It is one of the United Kingdom's most notable religious buildings and the traditional place of coronation and a burial site for English and, later, British monarchs. The building itself was a Benedictine monastic church until the monastery was dissolved in 1539. Between 1540 and 1556, the abbey had the status of a cathedral. Since 1560, the building is no longer an abbey or a cathedral, having instead the status of a Church of England Royal Peculiar, a church responsible directly to the sovereign. According to a tradition first reported by Sulcard in about 1080, a church was founded at the site, then known as Thorn Island, in the 7th century at the time of Mellitus, a bishop of London. Construction of the present church began in 1245 on the orders of King Henry III. Since the coronation of William the Conqueror in 1066, all coronations of English and British monarchs have occurred in Westminster Abbey. 16 royal weddings have occurred at the abbey since 1100. Number 8. The Victoria and Albert Museum. The Victoria and Albert Museum in London is the world's largest museum of applied arts, decorative arts, and design, housing a permanent collection of over 2.27 million objects. It was founded in 1852 and named after Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. The V&A is located in the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, in an area known as Albertopolis because of its association with Prince Albert, the Albert Memorial, and the major cultural institutions with which he was associated. These include the Natural History Museum, the Science Museum, the Royal Albert Hall and Imperial College London. The museum is a non-departmental public body sponsored by the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport. As with other national British museums, entrance is free. Number 9. Piccadilly Circus and Trafalgar Square. Trafalgar Square is a public square in the city of Westminster, central London, established in the early 19th century around the area formerly known as Charing Cross. The square's name commemorates the Battle of Trafalgar, the British naval victory in the Napoleonic Wars over France and Spain that took place on October 21, 1805 off the coast of Cape Trafalgar. The site around Trafalgar Square had been a significant landmark since the 1200s. For centuries, distances measured from Charing Cross have served as location markers. The site of the present square formerly contained the elaborately designed, enclosed courtyard, King's Mews. After George IV moved the Mews to Buckingham Palace, the area was redeveloped by John Nash, but progress was slow after his death, and the square did not open until 1844. The 169-foot, 52 Nelson's Column at its center is guarded by 4 lion statues. A number of commemorative statues and sculptures occupy the square, but the fourth plinth, left empty since 1840, has been host to contemporary art since 1999. Prominent buildings facing the square include the National Gallery, St. Martin in the Fields, Canada House, and South Africa House. Number 10. St. Paul's Cathedral. St. Paul's Cathedral is an Anglican cathedral in London. As the seat of the Bishop of London, the cathedral serves as the mother church of the Diocese of London. It sits on Ludgate Hill at the highest point of the City of London, and is a Grade I listed building. Its dedication to Paul the Apostle dates back to the original church on this site, founded in AD 604. The present structure, dating from the late 17th century, was designed in the English Baroque style by Sir Christopher Wren. Its construction, completed in Wren's lifetime, was part of a major rebuilding program in the city after the Great Fire of London. The earlier Gothic cathedral, Old St. Paul's Cathedral, largely destroyed in the Great Fire, was a central focus for medieval and early modern London, including Paul's Walk and St. Paul's Churchyard being the site of St. Paul's Cross. The cathedral is one of the most famous and most recognizable sights of London. Its dome, framed by the spires of Wren's city churches, has dominated the skyline for over 300 years. At 365 feet 111 meters high, it was the tallest building in London from 1710 to 1963. The dome remains among the highest in the world. St. Paul's is the second largest church building in area in the United Kingdom after Liverpool Cathedral. Number 11. Hyde Park. Hyde Park is a Grade I listed major park in central London. It is the largest of 4 royal parks that form a chain from the entrance of Kensington Palace through Kensington Gardens and Hyde Park, via Hyde Park Corner and Green Park past the main entrance to Buckingham Palace. The park is divided by the Serpentine and the Long Water Lakes. The park was established by Henry VIII in 1536 when he took the land from Westminster Abbey and used it as a hunting ground. It opened to the public in 1637 and quickly became popular, particularly for May Day parades. Major improvements occurred in the early 18th century under the direction of Queen Caroline. Several duels took place in Hyde Park during this time, often involving members of the nobility. The Great Exhibition of 1851 was held in the park, for which the Crystal Palace, designed by Joseph Paxton, was erected. Number 12. Natural History Museum. A natural history museum or museum of natural history is a scientific institution with natural history collections that include current and historical records of animals, plants, fungi, ecosystems, geology, paleontology, climatology, and more.
Number 13. Covent Garden. A shopping and entertainment hub in London's West End, Covent Garden centres on the elegant, car-free piazza, home to fashion stores, craft stalls of the Apple Market, and the Royal Opera House. Street entertainers perform by 17th-century St. Paul's Church, and the London Transport Museum houses vintage vehicles. Upscale restaurants serve European cuisines, and nearby theatres draw crowds for plays and musicals.
Number 14. Greenwich and Docklands. The Greenwich plus Docklands International Festival, GDIF, is a free annual outdoor performing arts festival, which takes place across East, Tower Hamlets, and South East London, Greenwich, every June. GDIF was founded by its artistic director Bradley Hemmings as an independent festival in 1996 and is produced by the charitable organisation Greenwich plus Docklands Festivals, GDF. The festival organizes over 200 performances during 10 days, which are attended by over 80,000 people each year. Number 15. Hampton Court Palace. Hampton Court Palace is a Grade I listed royal palace in the London Borough of Richmond upon Thames, 12 miles southwest and upstream of central London on the River Thames. Building of the palace began in 1514 for Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, the chief minister of King Henry VIII.